568A versus 568B. As we discussed previously, UTP, or unshielded twisted pair, is the favorite cable among network admins because of its flexibility, easy installation, and speed. These cables have 8 wires, which are broken down into 4 pairs. Each pair of wires is twisted together across the entire length of the cable. Twisted pair cabling has several standards associated with it. You need to know which wiring standard to use and what color sequence to work off of. The 568 standard is used with twisted pair cables that are meant for computer networking on the LAN. Such as what we see here. We have some cables that are connected to the back of a patch panel, and they're all terminated. All the individual wires are terminated here. So we use this type of cable for computer networking. This standard was developed by the Telecommunications Industry Association, or TIA, and adopted by ANSI. The 568 standard is broken down into several substandards. Generally speaking, the most common standard or version of 568 that you will see is 568B. You should memorize the color sequence for 568B. And again, it's 8 wires, 8 pins that we have here, 1 through 8. And in the 568B standard, we have specific colors. They're organized in a specific sequence. And both ends of the cable, both ends of a cable run or both ends of a patch cable are normally going to have the same sequence. The same sequence on both ends. And those 8 pins are white-orange. That means a white wire with an orange stripe. The second pin is solid orange. The third is a white wire with a green stripe. The fourth is solid blue. The fifth is a white wire with a blue stripe. The sixth is green. The seventh is white with a brown stripe. And the eighth is brown solid. Now, the pins that we normally use on Ethernet networks are pins 1, 2, 3, and 6. That means we're using the orange pair and the green pair. Let's take a look at the exposed wires of a twisted pair cable. So here we have a super close-up of these wires, and again, our 8 pins that we have here. And so you can see these. You can see that it's a white wire with some orange stripe. That's the first one, white-orange. And then you have that solid orange. That's the second pin. White-green, you can't see the green stripe here, but it's there. Then solid blue, white blue, again, you can't really see the blue stripe, just such a close-up here. Solid green, here we have white brown, and solid brown. So those are the 8 wires, and that's a close-up. And what I did here was I cut them straight with a wire cutter so that I could fit an RJ45 plug on them to make a patch cable. Now, 568A was the version that was originally used a long time ago, but the standard changed over time. Today, we use the 568B version for most normal cable runs, and that means a cable run between a patch panel and an RJ45 jack, say from a server room to an actual workstation, or for patch cables. We'll do 568B on both ends. Now, you might still see some 568 runs, older networking connections, Cat3 cables maybe, so older stuff, but in reality, it doesn't matter too much from a technical standpoint. As long as both ends of the cable run are terminated with the same standard, you will get connectivity. But to pass inspection and to meet compliance, you want to be using that 568B standard. And look at the difference here. 568B starts with white, orange, orange. 568A starts with white, green, green. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, sometimes you'll need to cross the connection. Sometimes you'll need to cross the connection, and you do this if you need to connect a computer directly to another computer, or if you need to connect a switch directly to another switch. So to do this, to make this crossed connection, you use a crossover cable. The crossover cable has one end wired to 568A and the other end wired to 568B, and it doesn't matter which is which. So as you can see here, pins 1 and 3 are crossed, and pins 2 and 6 are crossed. So take a look. On 568A, we have pin 1 traveling over to pin 3 on the other end, which is wired as 568B. Pin 2 goes over to pin 6. And then it's reversed. Pin 3 goes over to pin 1, and pin 6 goes over to pin 2. So that's the cross. What do you need to know? You need to know that one end has to be wired as 568A with the white, green, green, and white, orange, orange. And the other end has to be 568B, white, orange, orange, and white, green, green. It's basically reversed or crossed. Most switches today will automatically cross connections as needed. So the crossover cable is not required as often as it once was. However, it is a tool that every PC tech and network admin should have available. But you can cross any connection, be it a patch cable, a termination point at a patch panel, and so on. So you might see it more often than you would think. So be ready for crossed connections with 568A on one end, 568B on the other. Let's show an example of a crossover cable and a patch tester. Okay, so here we have a crossover cable, and I've done a close-up on this. And we've got two connectors. On this connector here, you can see that we have the white-green wires or pins on the left side. And on the left side of this other connector, you can see that we have the white-orange. So we know we're looking at a crossover cable. And to test this, you can use your trusty patch tester. So we'll plug that in now. And it doesn't really matter which end you plug in where. Just make sure that both are connected securely. And then you can start your test just by pressing the button. And so when we do that, we get the cross right off the bat. 1 to 3, like we mentioned before. And then 2 to 6. 3 to 1, crossing the other way. 4 to 4, and 5 to 5. Those are straight through, they're not crossed. That's the blue pair. 6 goes to 2. And 7 goes to 7. 8 goes to 8. Those are not crossed either. So we don't cross the blue pair or the brown pair because generally for Ethernet connections, those pairs are not used. We use the 4 wires for a normal Ethernet networking connection, the orange and the green. And so just like we're showing here, we use those green pins and those orange pins whenever we do connections. That's normally what we use. Pins 1, 2, 3, and 6. So know your difference between 568A and 568B. Remember that 568B is used the most commonly for computer networking connections. But understand if you want to have a crossed connection between two computers or between two switches sometimes, then one end will have to be 568A and the other end will be 568B.